Hello, my neighbor. Let's talk about what is a hate crime, okay? So we have another fun bit today. We have another hot take. Check out this title. What is hate? All right, so we're going to keep this one super clean and super simple. So I want to paint a picture right now because this is the scene that set me off. All right, check this out. In the United States of America, a Muslim woman was caught on camera trespassing and damaging the property of a Jewish church. All right, so this is why I'm going to show you, and I'm going to talk about what is a hate crime and what is hate, because we were watching a woman, just take away the label Muslim and just look at it. So there was a woman who was going onto somebody's property, and then they were damaging the property. How are they damaging the property? They were defacing it with what someone called graffiti, right? So they were damaging the property, and they were damaging it by putting on paint and then putting words that weren't very cool on it, right? So they were putting on bad words on there to this person's property, and it's not cool, right? It's not cool. So they're talking about it being a hate crime because it was a Muslim woman who was doing it on a Jewish church, right? So this is where the hate crime bit comes in, and we just thought that this was going to be a cool instructional bit, so we just want to lay this one out for you, my neighbor. Okay, so Muslim woman, Jewish church, thank you for your service, and thanks for this jump off bit. Now let's go ahead and hop on this hot take. What is hate? All right, so we're going to lay down some terms, and we're going to lay down some conditions so you and we can agree upon them, okay, my neighbor? So we can be on the same page. Now, focus on these words and focus on the highlight. Hate. This is what hate is. Hate is to dislike greatly. That's what hate is. Hate. To have a great aversion to. That's what hate is, right? So what is hate? Hate are just haters, right? So you're going to see the people that hate out there because it doesn't matter what it is and what you do and how you move and how you operate. Sometimes when you go and you try to talk to them, they're just going to hate you. They're just going to dislike you. They might dislike the way that you look. They might dislike the way that you speak, right? They just might dislike the way that you smell, right? There's all sorts of ways that people just dislike people or other entities greatly, right? And you can do that, right? You can hate people. You can dislike them because you're not forced to like or love anyone, right? But what you can't do is you cannot cause harm. So you can hate someone and you can be a hater on someone, but the moment that you cross those boundaries and you cause bodily harm or you cause physical damage, then that means you're breaking the law. Okay? All right, now drop down and check out what crime is. Crime is to separate. Crime is to judge. Crime is to decree. Crime is to condemn. And whenever we see judge, we see show, right? And then whenever we see separate, we see discernment, right? So we like crime, and we like showing people what crime is. Now check this out. Crime. An act, that means you're doing something physically. Crime. An act which violates a law, divine or human. All right? That's what a crime is. Right? So full disclosure, I'm a Christian, and my rules and my duty and my obligation are coming from my father's book, the Holy Bible, King James Version. That's what's up. So that's where my law comes from, right? And I know what I'm supposed to do, and I'm supposed to love, right? I'm supposed to love God with all my heart, with all my mind, with all my soul, and I'm supposed to love my neighbor like I love God, right? And then all law hangs from love. And I know if I don't love, then that means I don't care. And then that means I'm being a hater. And I don't like that, right? I do not like that, because I know in every man and every woman, I know where my Father dwells, because I know Creator creates creation, so I know that Father God, Jesus Christ, and Holy Ghost created the whole world. They created everything that everybody's playing in right now. And then what did they create? They created man, they created woman, they created child, they created the people, and we the people, we created everything else, okay? So when you see these terms and you see these conditions, the people, we created a lot of these terms and a lot of these conditions, but they're all built off of my Father's word. Okay. You can't get around the mathematics, because in the beginning was the word, and the word was God, right? Thank you, Jesus. So we love showing people where the words come from. And this is why we're showing you what these terms and what these conditions mean, right? So if there's any man or any woman who violates a law, right? So if you violate love, right, then that means you're breaking divine law, right? And if you trespass and if you violate someone's property, then that means you're breaking secular law, okay? It's just right there. Those are the terms and those are the conditions, okay? Let's keep it going on crime. Crime, an act which violates a rule of moral duty. That's a crime. Crime, an offense against the laws of right prescribed by God or man. That's the crime right there, okay? Crime, an offense against any rule of duty plainly implied in those laws. All right. So all the law for the people, for the people in our government of the United States of America, it comes from the state's constitutions and then the federal constitutions. That's where the supreme law of the land is in the United States of America, right? So if you come and if you join our political association called the United States of America and you are within these boundaries, then you have to obey the law, right? You have to. That's what you have to do. And what you can't do is you cannot offend and you cannot violate other people's properties, right? And that's a crime, right? That's a crime. So if you violate the supreme law of the land in the United States of America or the states, then you're committing a crime. Okay. It's just that simple. All right. So now I'm setting this one up right here, right now, too, because, in this case, where the Muslim woman was trespassing and damaging the property of the Jewish church, right? So whoever owns that church, they have a cause of action right there. They have a cause of action because the woman was damaging their property. And you can't do that. You can't trespass on people's property. Okay. But here in America, we have this bit called the U.S. Code, where there's federal codes. And then we wrote down some legislative statutes, some federal legislative statutes, so then that way our political entities, our federal entities, know how to move and they know how to operate. Now check out this bit right here on the 18 U.S. Code, crimes and criminal procedures. Now you know what a crime is, okay? Now you know what a crime is. So we got crimes and criminal procedures, subsection 249, Hate Crimes Act, right? So this is the Hate Crimes Acts, right? So now you know what hate is. So hate is just, whoever dislikes something greatly, right? So this is a throwback all the way back into the day when people were hanging people because of the color of their skin, right? So there was groups of people who did not like what other groups of people look like just because of the color of their skin, right? So then the U.S., they set up a lot of these rules and terms and conditions, so then that way our public servants know how to operate and they know how to keep the realm. They know how to keep the United States of America in each state safe. All right, check this out. Alpha, in general, focus on a highlight. This is Hate Crimes Acts. It says offenses involving actual or perceived race, color, religion, or national origin, right? So if you offend, if you commit an offense, if you commit a crime, if you trespass on someone's property, because of what their race is, what their color is, what their religion, that's what they believe, right? So those are the things that they believe, right? Or their national origin. So this could be, they could be descendants from another place within this realm. Like example, they can come from a place called the Middle East, right? Or they can come from a place called Israel, right? These are just examples of national origins, because there's groups of people that believe that they are of those places. So you got groups of people that they believe that, yes, I come from Israel, right? Therefore I am Israeli, right? And then you have other people who come from Muslim parts of the world, like the Saudi Arabia, and they say, yes, I am Arabic, right? But my religion is Muslim, right? So I'm Muslim, right? So this is how you can mix and match all of these things with race, color, religion, or national origin, right? It's all about what people believe that they are. So that's why we know who they are whenever they call themselves -man, -woman, -child, -people, -person. So whenever somebody says that I am Muslim, right? Then we know that, or when they say I'm a Muslim man or I'm a Muslim woman, then we know that you've joined yourself with the system called Muslim, right? Because you say that you're Muslim, so we know that Islam is your master, right? And then it will go the same way, like when people say that I am a Jewish man or I am a Jewish woman, right? It's the same thing. Then we know that your master is the God of Israel, right? That's how it goes, okay? So remember this. This is just how the system works, right? Is that the words are very important, because whoever joins these words together, right? Like me, I'm a Christian, which means that I just follow Christ, right? Which means that I've been washed in the blood of Christ and I'm in a completely different jurisdiction. But I also know that I have a duty and an obligation to love my neighbor, right? So my neighbor could be of any man, of any race, of any man, of any color, of any man, of any religion, or of any national origin, right? So I love all of those groups right there, because this is what I was commanded to do, right? Because this is how Jesus showed me how to move. All right, but you have people who don't adhere to these terms and these conditions. All right, so rewind, let's keep it going. Hate crimes acts: offenses involving actual or perceived race, color, religion, or national origin, whether or whoever, right? This is whoever. So these are the people who are committing the hate crimes. So whoever, whether or not acting under color of law, okay, acting under the color of law. So example, so like they were using the ability to have free speech in order for them to damage someone's property, and you can't do that. So that means that you're acting under the color of law. So if you don't agree with the way that somebody believes or the way that somebody thinks, right, and then you say, well, I'm going to use my freedom of speech and I'm going to damage your property, right? You cannot do that. That means you're acting under the color of law, right? And that's a no-no, because the law says you can't do that, okay? Rewind, let's keep it going. Whoever, whether or not acting under color of law, willfully causes bodily injury to any person, drop down, because of the actual or perceived race, color, religion, or national origin of any person. That's a hate crime. Right? So if you act under the color of law and you willfully, that means you knowingly do it, right? That means that you know what it is that you're doing. You're like, I'm going to do this because this person is X or this person is Y, right? And then I'm going to cause bodily. So when they say bodily, they're talking about your physical body right here, right? That's what they're talking about, right? But then you also have extensions of your body, because your body will be like your property. So your home, your house where you live, that will be an extension of your body. It's your property, right? So you can extend these words out, right? Because that's just how we created this game. So if you injure means cause harm, right? If you damage it, right, you can't do that. You're breaking the law. And especially if you're doing it because of race, color, religion, or national origin of any person. And a person, remember, that's just a mask, right? A person is not a man, a person is not a woman, a person is not a child, a person is not a people. A person is a tool that the people use to speak through. That's why we try to tell you it is a mask, right? Example, so like when a woman says that I'm a Muslim woman, that's her person, right? So that's the tool that she's speaking through. Or when a man says that I am a Jewish man, that's his person. That's the tool that he's speaking to. Or another example, when I say that I'm a Christian man, that's my person. That's the tool that I'm used to speak through. Okay, but I'm letting you know who I am and what I am because of the terms and the conditions, okay? And you can't harm anybody's property, right? Because that's a hate crime. And we don't like haters, right? I mean, you can hate all day, all night, because that's just what we know that a lot of people do, because this is how some people were groomed. They were groomed because of the words that were put in front of their face when they were young and as they were growing up, to hate other people because of their perceived race, color, religion, national origin, right? So what people look like, how people speak, and how people think, people hate other people because of that. is true, right? So example, like, I hate people who hate my Father's word, right? It's like, I don't like you. I really don't like you, and I don't want to hang out with you because you don't like my Father's word. But that means that I cannot harm you. So I can hate on you all day, all night, but I can't harm you. I can't trespass on your property, but I don't have to hang out with you, and I don't have to talk to you, even though I want to talk to you because I like to talk about ideas and I like to show you terms and conditions, right? But I do have a hate. I have a deep hate for people who don't like my Father's word, right? That's just me, right? But I'm not going to act on those. I'm not going to act on that hate, and I'll never trespass on anybody's property unless they trespass on my property, right? So the moment that you cross the boundaries, then I have the right to defend my life, my liberty, and my property, especially here in America, because those are the terms and the conditions that we wrote. Okay, my neighbor? All right, so we're done. Let's go ahead and walk it up now. So I just wanted to show you that U.S. Code, 18 U.S. Code, Crimes and Criminal Procedures, subsection 249, Hate Crimes Act, because I want to show you what a hate crime is, because there's a lot of people throwing out this term and this condition out there, but I don't think a lot of people really truly understand what a hate crime is, okay? And now we just showed you what a hate crime is, all right? Let's keep walking it up. And then I wanted to show you the term crime, and then I wanted to show you the term hate. So put those terms and put those conditions in your back pocket, never move from those positions, and learn how to execute the trust, and I guarantee your stress levels will come way, way down, my neighbor, okay? And that's that hot take on what is hate. Now you know what hate is. Never move from that position, and it would behoove you not to be a hater, because I'm always asking for forgiveness right now, because when I hate, I know when I'm hating because I'm like, ooh, I don't like that, right? I really hate that, right? But I'm like, I need to stop being a hater, right? But sometimes it's just natural for me to hate. So now you know what hate is, okay? And haters always gonna be hating. All right, so we're done with that bit. Let's hop on our next slide. Conclusion. This is my closeout game, and I love it. Trust God. I'm gonna say this one from now on until my Father taps me out. Trust God. Put your trust in God. Put your property in God's trust, and I guarantee your stress levels are going to come way, way down. Okay, because then all you're going to have to learn how to do is dress and keep my Father's property. And once you realize this whole world, this whole realm is my Father's property, because Creator creates creation. And once you realize that every man and every woman, you don't own man and you don't own women. Like, I don't own this body. This body's not my body. This body is my Father's property, and I have a duty and I have an obligation to dress and keep it, okay? And I know how to do this because I'm a servant, and that's what we're supposed to do, okay, my neighbor? And if you understand how to do this, stress levels are going to come way, way down. And then all you're going to have to get out there and do is just love your neighbor, just like how you love God, okay? All right, so we're done with that bit. Let's go ahead and walk it back up now. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that scene. Thank you, Muslim woman, and thank you, Jewish church, for showing us how you guys move and how you guys operate and how you guys damage property. You shouldn't be doing that, but thank you for giving us this scene, and thank you for the jump off bit. And then I wanted to do that hot take on what is hate, right? Because there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people who dislike things greatly. And now you know what hate is, and now you know who haters are. All people have haters in them, right? But you just got to learn how to keep your hater in check, okay? And then I wanted to talk about what is a hate crime. Now you know what a hate crime is, right? So you can't hate on people because of what they look like or what they think or where they come from, right? You can't do that, especially here in America, because we have laws, right? And all of our laws in the United States of America and in every state in America comes from the constitutions, right? So it will behoove you, if you understand how to use the terms and the conditions within the constitutions, so you can bring down your stress levels a whole lot. And you got to stop trespassing on other people's property. Okay, my neighbor? All right, once you understand this bit, you're going to bring down your stress levels a whole lot too. Okay, so we're done. Thank you. I'll see you in the future. By God with love. And remember, nobody's having more fun than us. Bye.